Thank you for joining us on the show today, Mr. Savage. What is the history of Alden's ambulance services?
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm very impressed with the facilities that you have here. Uh, Very nice. The ambulance service, over the years, the town contracts with 4 fire companies, Alden, Hook and Ladder, Crittenden, Town Line, and Mill Grove. And over the years, most of those fire companies ran ambulances. As the requirements, the New York State requirements, became more stringent, it was harder and harder for uh, fire companies to staff the ambulances. So one by one, they sort of dropped that service. And many years ago, the town contracted with Rural Metro. The only fire company that runs an ambulance, and it's a basic level, is the Village of Alden, Hook and Ladder Fire Company. So we had a contract for many years with Rural Metro. So when there was an emergency call, they would be called out by Lancaster Fire Control and show up at the scene with whatever fire company had responded. 4 fire companies each have a quadrant of the town, so but Rural Metro would show up. And last year, I think on June 27th, we received a letter that they were terminating our contract in both the town and the village as of, in the case of the town, September 27th.
And why is LVAC Alden's chosen service provider?
Well, once Rural Metro, which is now called AMR, canceled the contract, we had to find another provider. The regulations that the state and a regional emergency medical committee specify is that an ambulance provider has to have the right to service an area. The only other ambulance company besides AMR, Rural Metro, that had the permission from the state, their operating certificate gave them the ability to respond to calls in Alden and the village too, was Twin City. We approached Twin City immediately. They were not interested in doing it. So at that point, the town couldn't hire anyone else or contract with anyone else unless we received our own certificate from the state of New York uh, to operate an ambulance service. That would allow us then to choose any ambulance service. We ended up choosing LVAC, one, because they were interested, and secondly, because they were the closest to the town.
And how long will they be our service?
We have about a 3-year contract with them right now. Of course, any contract can be broken because Rural Metro's was with a 90-day letter of intent. But they've been doing a good job. Because we have that certificate, it's a lengthy process, and I can get into that. It took us 3 months, almost to the day, to get the state's permission and the county's permission to have a certificate to operate an ambulance service, the town itself. That's only the first step. That's good for 2 years. Now there's a second step where we have to submit more paperwork to a regional Western New York medical emergency services committee. And they will have to send 200 letters out to every fire company and EMS provider in the area and hospitals. And we'll have a public hearing before them. We had to hire a special counsel that's done this before. And there's a $7,500 fee for appearing before this committee. And they will decide if there is a true need for the town of Alden to have that certificate. The one we have from the state now is good for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, if we didn't do this second step, it would expire and we would never be able to ask again for a certificate. So we're in that process right now to do the final one.
And what steps have to be taken to ensure that Alden has a guaranteed ambulance service?
Well, pretty much make sure we can get that certificate because that was the only option we had, which we did. Ask what ambulance service providers were interested. LVAC and Mercy Flight also runs ambulances. They were both interested. They're based out of Batavia. The or ambulance services, so LVAC was closest. Um, so we did the initial steps, now we're in the secondary steps, and I'm confident, obviously there's a need, and that's what you have to prove, and I don't think any other ambulance service provider is going to object to the town having that certificate. So I think we're in pretty good stead, but I won't know until we finally get before that committee.
Okay, thank you for joining us, Mr. Savage, and
pleasure.
we'll be sure to stay on top of the story.
Okay, thank you much.